This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre, and you're listening to the WWE Podcast.
The champ is
the one that everybody wants, me.
It's going to WrestleMania. Claymore!
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. This is my iron. You're going to acknowledge me.
It's time for the current state of WWE here on this Monday, the 8th of January, 2024. We are now just less than 3 weeks away now, 2 weeks and 5 days, if you want to be exact, until the Royal Rumble, which, as we always know, every year kicks off WrestleMania season officially. And also what's been kind of unofficially official is The Rock and the fact that he returned a couple weeks ago on Monday Night Raw or last week rather, and he made himself very well aware, or made the fans aware, that this is going to happen, referring to the head of the table, that where should he sit. And then Paul Heyman followed up on SmackDown telling The Rock that, you are not invited to the Island of Relevancy. And it looks like we are now finally going to get Roman Reigns versus The Rock. Now, where it happens, when it happens, has been up for a lot of debate. But first, Anthony, here we go. And how you doing?
Not too bad, man. And I'm sure people realized that this past week I released After Dark a day later. And sometimes I do drop it on Saturdays, but that's mainly out of laziness. This time it was by design, because with the New Year's Revolution branded version of SmackDown and so much at stake in the way of the number one contendership for the Undisputed Championship on the line in the main event, I really wanted to reserve doing my podcast until we got clarity on that. And to be honest, they went in a way that I didn't expect. They went in a way that I thought was kind of like a wah-wah-wah type of ending to what was somewhat of a quasi pay-per-view. In other ways, I really liked it. I'm really digging Nick Aldis as SmackDown GM. He's not a babyface or a heel. He just feels like a real-life executive. He feels like... A quick side note on Nick Aldis. Does he not feel like someone that would work in like a sports franchise's front office, like in the MLB or NFL?
Absolutely. He's authentic. Yes.
So that part I really liked. I liked that like he's a no BS kind of guy, but I'm very skeptical in how this fatal four-way will play out here. Because not because I don't like it being a fatal four-way. To be honest, when I actually think of how the match will be, I think it's kind of a breath of fresh air. It's very rare that we see these multi-man matches, especially more than triple threat matches for world titles. Like, I can't even really remember the last time Roman was involved in one. I imagine it was
it's never happened. And actually, he's in terms of defending his championship, he's never defended his championship in a fatal four-way.
Okay, yeah. So the only other multi-man match I could think of was the triple threat with Edge and Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania 36, I believe it was. So that is coming up on 3 years ago, and it's going to be an interesting kind of in-ring from an in-ring perspective. And I do think that maybe they were overdone. I think they even had a fatal four-way pay-per-view in the early 2010s or late 2000s that obviously didn't last long for obvious reasons. But I guess I'll start with like the in-ring approach of this and how I think this will play out before we get into maybe more of a macro scale. That for you, are you excited to see a fatal four-way match with the four competitors involved?
I've been back and forth on this since it happened. On one sense, I am disappointed that it's not one-on-one, especially with Randy Orton. He's got an 18-month story behind him, being out, being injured. Randy Orton and Roman Reigns one-on-one makes 100% sense. Now, the rumblings coming out of the newswire is that WWE didn't want him to get pinned so soon after his return, which to me is a lame excuse, because Randy Orton can't be damaged at this point in his career. He's a made man. There's nothing you can do. I understand why they would say that, but that's to me a nonsensical reason. But when I heard it was a fatal four-way, it did feel like a womp womp for me, but I'm thinking to myself, well, why are they doing this? And yes, inherently it instantly makes it more unpredictable, because now you have three guys instead of one. Roman doesn't have to be involved in the decision to lose, which is one of the few times in his career defending the championship that he has to deal with this scenario. And unpredictability in this case is a lot more fun. And it's something that has been missing from Roman Reigns matches for years, is unpredictability. And this one does add more to that, because could The Rock interfere? Could he come out afterwards? What's going to happen? So I like the unpredictability. I don't like that it's not one-on-one, but I understand why they're doing it. And the other thing is, are these men, all three men, going to be exempt from the Rumble? It depends on when this match goes on. Are they before the Rumble? Is it after the Rumble? So that really matters. Is, okay, if Roman retains, but can those three men still enter the Royal Rumble?
Yeah, well, my pick leading up to this past Friday for the Rumble, which was, I guess, somewhat of a dark horse, was LA Knight, because I was still banging the drum that he was going to go over to Monday Night Raw and challenge Drew McIntyre for the World Heavyweight Championship. But now, like you said, depending on when this match goes on, who knows? And it's kind of like a double-edged sword, because if this match doesn't go on last, well, then it means that Roman Reigns is retaining the championship 100%, because there's no way they're not going to close the show without him losing, or with him losing. I kind of lost myself there. But if it goes on before the Rumble, then that means LA Knight isn't involved, or Orton's not involved, or Styles isn't involved. But we don't think that Orton or Styles have a snowball's chance of hell in winning this Rumble. But I think LA Knight would be a really cool X factor in all of this, because everyone is obviously pointing to the favorites, whether it be Cody or CM Punk, obviously, to a lesser extent, maybe Drew McIntyre, although I wonder if he's going to get another crack at the world title at the Rumble. But I'm really looking forward to it from an in-ring perspective, and I think the match quality is going to be fun. It's going to be something different. It's not going to be the same old copy-paste Roman Reigns match that we've been accustomed to for the last 18 months or so. But I'm disappointed, because for me, the first thought in my head was he's going to retain. He's going to retain the title, because there's no bleeping way that they're going to make Roman Reigns drop the championship after close to 4 or 3.5 years in a fatal four-way match. But then I started thinking, like, is this their way of protecting Roman Reigns going into WrestleMania? And have they maybe started thinking along the lines of us, like, hey, there's no way that we're ever going to pay this off with, like, a groundbreaking title change that's going to shock the world and is going to be remembered forever? Because then, let's just say, for argument's sake, he loses to Cody at WrestleMania. Everyone's going to know he's losing. There's no way that Cody Rhodes is going to lose back-to-back WrestleManias with the way that they've built Cody Rhodes as this generation's John Cena in a lot of ways. So I'm starting to think maybe this is them saying, well, we're going to find a way to take the belt off of Roman while protecting him and not suffering a pinfall while we get him ready for The Rock. Because for me, that's exactly what this comes down to. It comes down to whether or not he's going to win the title, because for me, that the entire, like, branding of this match potentially being a success hinges on that.
This is a fascinating next couple of months. You're right. This is a match that looks like it's a setup to protect Roman Reigns, because he doesn't have to take the pinfall to lose it. He can continue his streak in some respects. He loses the belt without actually being pinned. He has an axe to grind. That does protect Roman Reigns going in. And if you want to have Roman Reigns versus The Rock in a non-title, which you and I and others have been a very big proponent of, because the belt, in a very rare instance, detracts from the match here in several ways, then that's how you could get to it. Now, I've heard rumblings, and you probably have too, on social media of, well, where does Rock Roman have happen? And could it happen in Perth? Should it happen in Perth? It's at Elimination Chamber. But what if Cody wins the Rumble? Is it going to be a triple threat with The Rock and Roman and Cody at WrestleMania? Like, we've heard, and I've heard, so many different iterations and people believing that Rock Roman should happen at Elimination Chamber. I'm not of that belief. I understand the temptation to do it, but you can't sell me on the fact or make me believe that The Rock is going to come back for WrestleMania or for the Elimination Chamber, face Roman Reigns, Win, lose, or draw, then he's just going to go away for WrestleMania. I mean, he has to have a match for WrestleMania. That, to me, though, is one of the final few fantasy matchups that still exist, and you're telling me it's going to happen at Elimination Chamber and not just a month and a half later at WrestleMania? It makes no sense to me why people think it's a better idea to have Rock Roman as at Elimination Chamber, unless, of course, their idea is to add Cody to the mix to make it a triple threat at WrestleMania for the Undisputed Championship with Rock and Roman as well. There's so many different scenarios, so I don't know what your thoughts are.
Well, my thoughts on here's the thing. Obviously, Elimination Chamber isn't really the typical B-level pay-per-view that it has been accustomed to, but because it's obviously literally across the world and it's in a stadium of 60,000 people. So you could kind of say, well, this is on par with WrestleMania or SummerSlam or Survivor Series or whatever. Or not even Survivor Series, more like the Rumble. But it's just like you're going to make The Rock and Roman a match that has been 4 years in the making, a match that could argue to be the biggest match of the decade in a lot of ways, if you look at it from a perspective that transcends wrestling because of how big of a star The Rock is, and you're not going to do it on, like, pardon the cliche, but the grandest stage of them all. But at the same time, I could imagine it, like, I mean, is The Rock coming back because Australia is just paying a bleep ton? Is he going to come back and put Roman over and make Roman look as strong as ever heading into the 40th anniversary of WrestleMania? It's just so, like, I'm fearful of that because then it's just back-to-back pay-per-views, one of them being WrestleMania, of just predictable outcomes to me. You have him beat The Rock at the Elimination Chamber, because if he faces The Rock for the championship at an Elimination Chamber, we all know Roman Reigns is winning, right? There's no way The Rock dethrones him at WrestleMania, and it's Cody versus The Rock. But him facing Roman at Elimination Chamber for the championship would be the worst outcome, because then you would know he's beating Rock at Mania, or at Chamber, and then you pretty well know that Cody's going to defeat him at WrestleMania. And I'm not always here to say that it has to be unpredictable, but at the same time, like, when it's that predictable for consecutive pay-per-views in such a big way, when there's unpredictable options and better options, to be honest, that's when I would probably start getting frustrated.
Well, for all the Cody fans out there, and I understand why you want Cody in the main event here, why people feel that the Rock is taking Cody's spot, and why he is a better candidate to beat Roman for the title. I am of that belief as well, that he's a better candidate than The Rock. The Rock should be nowhere near the belt. But my concern is, if you are a Cody fan, and many people believe that Roman Reigns could drop the belt in the next few weeks at the Rumble, well, you can't have the Royal Rumble winner face Roman Reigns if he's not the champion. So you could get Rock Roman at Elimination Chamber non-title, where Roman drops the belt a month earlier at Rumble to, I don't know, Orton, or, I mean, probably not AJ Styles. But you could get that where you have a non-title, perfect, and then it's Rock Roman at Elimination Chamber. But then where does Cody fit in? Does he face Randy Orton, as we have thought about in the past as well with their history? You could have Roman Reigns, or rather Cody Rhodes, face off against Randy Orton, given their history. That'd be a fun matchup. But for the triple threat to happen, it has to be, because, and I'm bringing up this triple threat because it has been a big talking point among other major podcasts and other circles in wrestling, that this triple threat is a better idea than Rock Roman one-on-one WrestleMania 40, as to help save face for Cody. If this is all about protecting Cody, then Roman Reigns should probably retain at the Royal Rumble. And then you get Cody Rhodes selecting Roman Reigns, and that's when The Rock faces Roman non-title. He could still see. Here's the thing: Roman Reigns could still be champion, and he says, "I'm not putting the belt on the line," and The Rock says, "Good, because that's not what I'm after." And you get Rock Roman at Elimination Chamber non-title, and that's when Cody brings himself into the mix, and then it is a triple threat at WrestleMania for the Undisputed Championship. With The Rock involved. I mean, because I can't see Rock doing anything else other than something with Roman Reigns, whether it's a 1 or 2 man match or 3-man match at WrestleMania 40. It's just, it doesn't make sense to me that people think Cody Rhodes should be the one to do it from a from just a business perspective, that it should be Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns one-on-one. You have the biggest star literally on planet Earth, and you're going to tell me he doesn't belong in the main event and you want to make money? It doesn't make sense.
Well, here's the thing, as we try and like jump through like hoops, like trying to figure out how it all makes sense, because as much as I hate Cody Rhodes, I still do think that he shouldn't be pushed aside. Like, because he has no spot on Raw for the world title, because that's Punk and Rollins or Drew McIntyre in some way.
Right.
And if it's Rock and Roman, then what? Is he going to face Damian Priest again in a non-title match? Like, for as much as I despise Cody, he deserves to be used in a prominent spot. And all of the options here, like all the best case scenarios could just be solved by Roman dropping the championship. And it's kind of like what we've been talking about since Sami Zayn last year at Elimination Chamber in Montreal, is how much are you willing to sacrifice at the altar of Roman Reigns? Like, are you going to sacrifice Rock versus Roman head of the table match? Are you going to sacrifice a potential Cody versus Orton for the Undisputed Championship match, with Orton reinvigorated after an 18-month absence and Cody Rhodes looking to finish the story against his mentor? Like, are you going to sacrifice the likes of, LA Knight and AJ Styles taking yet another prominent loss? Are you going to sacrifice plotting out two back-to-back main events at prominent pay-per-views in arguably the most important time of the wrestling year? For me, it's like you always talk about what's best for business, both behind the scenes and on camera historically. And what's best for business right now is Roman not holding that championship. Because look how much we're twisting our brains into a pretzel. Like, okay, you could face The Rock here, but then maybe a triple threat match. Oh, what if he has a non-title match against The Rock while he's still the and we're all like trying to jump through hoops and make sense of how everybody gets their fair share. But at the same time, simultaneously, there's an option there where you could say you could have three major main events. Like I've been beating the drum for 4 major main events, but I've kind of like at this point lost hope on the Drew versus LA Knight world title match, especially since LA Knight might not even be in the Rumble. But you could have 3 major main event caliber matches: Rock versus Roman, head of the table; Punk versus Rollins, world heavyweight title; Rhodes versus Orton, WWE championship. To say nothing of what we could see on the women's side. So for me at this point, like I just cannot see a logical way aside from destroying everything in all to get Roman Reigns to whatever record you want to get him to. But at this point, you are only hurting the product to keep the title on Roman Reigns.
Well, that's it. That's the thing we've been talking about for months is at what cost are we doing this? To keep Roman as champion, there is a lot of expense and a lot of things you have to give up for what you believe is a better choice to keep Roman as champion. And so far, I have not seen, at least the last, especially 6 months, a good reason to keep it on him. Really, since last year's WrestleMania, it just doesn't really make a ton of sense to keep the belt on him for so many reasons as we've gone over. But yeah, the fact that we are having to come up with these scenarios that are not, I don't know if it's off the wall is the right word, but because they're not off the wall crazy, they're just, they're overcomplicated. They're not, we're overcomplicating a scenario that may not need to be, even though there are several people there are many players in the room here, but it really may not be that difficult to figure out as you laid out. I like the card you laid out. I think that it makes sense. But I also think that Roman Reigns, as you said, if he drops the belt, a lot of these problems go away. But it all comes down to, does WWE value that damn streak in beating Hogan over everything? And I would hope that they look at this and say no. But that remains to be seen. Now, when we get that official face-to-face, let me ask you this, kind of working from Rumble to Mania here. Do you think that Roman? Let me just ask you point blank. Does Roman Reigns drop the belt at the Royal Rumble?
I'm gonna say yes, just because I think they know what they have at their fingertips. Because I know I was kind of on an island about a month ago when I think I was the first person to suggest Cody versus Orton for the championship. So I'm gonna pump my own tires because of that. But now, if you look at like people discussing things on the internet and podcasts, like this is something that's actually gaining traction ever since The Rock came back, because it's a way to have your cake and eat it too. And it's just so obvious and obviously the right choice in so many ways that there's no way that Triple H and WWE Creative can't see this. Like, there's no way that they can't be staring at this and saying, man, we have the chance for 3 major box office smashes here. And we all know that WWE has notoriously promoted WrestleMania with 3 main events. That's one of the reasons CM Punk left, actually, was that, yeah, you're one of the main events. And whether you agree or disagree with it, all 3 of those matches could justifiably main event the second night of WrestleMania, right? And one of them is probably going to be arguably a match of the year candidate with Orton and Rhodes. One of them is 5 years in the making with Punk and Rollins and would see Punk's first Mania match in 11 years. And the other would transcend the wrestling business with The Rock and Roman Reigns. And there's just like, you don't even need to really say anything. Like, you just put them in front of each other and the story writes themselves. And if I'm Triple H, I just can't really come up with any logical and rational explanation as to why you'd forego that. So in a big easy enough for me to say, roundabout way, I really got lost in my words there. I just think that, yes, he will be dropping the title at the Royal Rumble, although I'm very, very skeptical about it, just because there is always that chance that they will destroy everything to get Roman Reigns farther along on this title reign.
And don't forget, I mean, The Rock could enter the Royal Rumble. Like, I mean, that's still possible. What if The Rock wins the Royal Rumble? I don't think that's the case. I think it will be likely. It will be Cody Rhodes. I'm still on that train. I think he is the right guy, the right time. As much as you and I don't like his character, and I think it's just horrific as a babyface, he is the right guy. We can acknowledge him, no pun intended, and also hate him at the same time. And I think that if Randy Orton wins, I think he will, you'll probably have The Rock come out to face Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns could even lose the belt because of The Rock. What's happening here is, I think that The Rock and Roman Reigns is playing a little bit coy right now with The Rock, where he's not even acknowledging him. He's just laughing him off, giving him emojis. And what's going to happen is, and I've brought this up in my podcast a couple times, but I'm drawing back to this rivalry of WrestleMania 26 with Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker with part 2 here. And Shawn Michaels wanted a match with Undertaker, and Undertaker said no, and kept saying no and no. And then eventually he forced The Undertaker's hand by costing him the championship inside the Elimination Chamber right before WrestleMania, and The Undertaker finally gave in. So I think it could be a little bit of that, where The Rock is, trying to get Roman's attention, and, which is weird that The Rock is chasing Roman for a match here, but that seems to be where they're headed. And The Rock eventually gets Roman's attention by costing him the championship at the Royal Rumble. It could happen. I still think we get an opportunity to see The Rock and Roman face to face at the Rumble, which is going to be that moment. I think we're underselling how crazy that moment's going to be, because you said it was like 4 or 5 years in the making. I think it's 9 years in the making when you look at this matchup that dates back all the way to Philadelphia 9 years ago at the Royal Rumble, where it was a disaster for the company. WWE was gifted from the wrestling gods a snowed-in Raw the next night, so they didn't have to deal with the crowd that would have ate them alive. And it dates back to then. So it's really, to me, 9 years that this match has been kind of on the table back and forth. And that moment, I think we're underselling how awesome that's going to be, what the crowd does when they finally just come within a couple of inches of each other face to face. It's going to be something to behold. And you cannot understate how big this match is. It may not live up to the wrestling of Cody and Roman, but the story supersedes that. It's not all about having the 5-star match. Sometimes the story supersedes what could happen in the ring, and I'm not worried about that. So I like the 3 main events that you laid out there: Rock, Roman, you have Punk and Rollins, and then you have Orton and Rhodes. I think those three are right there for the taking. If they want WrestleMania 40 to be the biggest of all time, it's right there. But I'm still fearful that they're just going to do what we said is probably going to happen. If I know Vince isn't there anymore, but sometimes his legacy lives on in spirit. It's just going to be Rock Roman for the championship at WrestleMania 40. I'm still fearful. That's on the table still.
It's the problem here is that the entire bloodline angle has gone completely stale. And I never thought that we would see the day, but it's like they ran out of all the ideas. And we talked about how it was kind of going stale post WrestleMania 38 against Brock Lesnar, and Sami Zayn prolonged it. And then it was kind of going stale again, but then the Civil War stuff was short but sweet, and it prolonged it. And since SummerSlam, it has just been more stale and more stale and more stale. And you've even seen like the wind come out of the Solo Sikoa sales. Jimmy Uso is just, I feel bad for him given what his brother's doing on Raw, but he is just like, it's just like channel changing with him, because he tries to be like funny in a heelish way, which I can kind of respect. It's not his fault. But aside from Rock versus Roman, there's no more intrigue for the bloodline. And I don't know that with him holding the title, there's anything more that you could do that's interesting here. If you take the title off of him and then you stretch it to Mania against The Rock, at least it's different and it's not the prominent thing that's being held hostage with him taking 2, 3, 4 weeks off at a time, if not longer. If it's just like a side angle between two part-timers for the head of the table, I have all the time in the world for that. And with The Rock hinting, and I could be wrong here, but has The Rock not hinted that this might not be a one-off?
Yeah.
So so it isn't going to be a one-off, right? So he's saying?
Yeah, that's what he's saying.
So if it's not going to be a one-off and he actually wants to do the whole, ending something but starting something else, would it not make most sense for The Rock to defeat Roman Reigns at WrestleMania? Roman Reigns goes away. We all hear that he's going to take off like significant time. And if they're saying he's taking off significant time, then that means it's like at least 6 months, right?
It's like a year, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe that ends the head of the table, tribal chief version of Roman Reigns. He comes back as a babyface. You do a bloodline babyface run. And then next year at WrestleMania, it's Roman saying, "You humbled me. I changed. But now I need another crack at you." Him and Rock, number 2, Roman wins, The Rock retires. That's how I see it. If you really want to squeeze the most out of anything to do with the bloodline, that's how you book this thing, assuming that The Rock is willing to give you another year. But The Rock's, 51? He probably knows that he only has X amount of time left, that he can play this character and perform in the ring up to the expected capabilities. He's not a spring chicken. He knows he's on the wrong side of 50. Maybe he's saying to Triple H, like, look, I'm going to give you one more run, kind of what I did in 2011 to 2013. I'll give you a 15-month run, put a bow on the Roman Reigns stuff, give you back-to-back Mania matches, one that cements him, closes the chapter on him as a heel, and then he comes back as a babyface, a bloodline run as babyfaces, which I think we all want to see. That's how you prolong the bloodline this time around. But with the current version of Roman as the heel champ and the minions of Jimmy and Solo and him beating everyone in every single pay-per-view going off air with him holding up the championships and fireworks going off, it's done. And it was awesome. It was bleeping great. I should redo this speech on After Dark so I could really not bleep myself out. But it was so good. I've spoken to several of my buddies who were just like, it was awesome. It was great. One of the best stories ever, but it's done. It's over. And it's okay. You squeezed a solid 3 years out of it, because everything since SummerSlam to me hasn't been good. But up to SummerSlam, everything was really, really awesome. You squeezed 3 years out of it, but it's done. And that's the framework for me that I would go with.
Well, that's exactly what they could be. If Rock is so concerned about starting something and ending something, well, you could end Roman Reigns' run and start his babyface run. There, I mean, there's just like you said. I've still am of the belief that the moment Roman Reigns drops the belt, that he becomes a babyface. Now, if he drops it at Rumble, he's not going to be a babyface facing The Rock, but anytime from WrestleMania forward, if he drops the belt, he's instantly going to become a babyface because people are going to look at him and not look at him and just get angered almost in reflex, that seeing him is a reminder of just, of keeping that belt hostage for so damn long. He's the face of the absentee champion. And I think that people they've kind of tuned out of the story. It's not even that you're just angry with the character. You're just kind of like you're starting to reach indifference, and that's the kiss of death for any storyline when you just go, man, I don't really care. That's not what WWE wants you to do. So I think fans are starting to feel that way. And I think that it could be absolutely a babyface run in 2024 for Roman Reigns. I do believe Roman Reigns will be a babyface in 2024. I still believe he's going to drop the belt. I haven't really thought about or really definitively decided when it's going to be. It could be as soon as 2.5 weeks from now. It could be as late as September of 24. But I still think that whenever it happens, Roman Reigns is going to be on that path to becoming one of the biggest baby faces of all time. The bloodline story completely changes. Solo maybe goes off on his own, or maybe the whole group turns babyface. Maybe eventually Jay comes back into the fold in late 24 into 25. They have a babyface run as a group. I mean, there's a lot you can do. It's just we haven't even seen the babyface version of this whole thing yet. It just can't be with Roman at the top here as champion. And I'm just looking forward to it. I mean, just there are so many different ways to go with this. I'm just, to me, though, when I specifically hone in on The Rock, I do believe it's going to be Rock Roman in the main event of WrestleMania. I mean, to say it's a boring selection, but to say it's for the championship could be the right solution, even if it is one that is predictable. Because if The Rock's willing to give you some time, then sure. Like if he's going to stick around for a little bit, then fine. But if Rock turns into a Roman schedule, then what the hell was the point of giving Rock the belt? I mean, that would be, you know what I mean?
I wasn't saying that he should have the belt. I'm saying that he should defeat Roman in a non-title match. Like the way I would book, and I don't usually like to do fantasy booking, but I would have The Rock screw Roman in some way during the Fatal 4-Way. I would have Jay involved as well in some capacity. Like maybe the Bloodline screwed Jay in the Rumble early on in the match, in the night rather. Jay gets involved, The Rock gets involved, because I don't know if people have realized, but Jay has started using some Rock mannerisms in the ring. Like the whole slapping thing, spit on the hand. Like I feel like Jay and The Rock are going to cross paths in a partnership in some way soon. And I could see at Elimination Chamber them doing another Bloodline Civil War type thing. Like, and one that I would actually be intrigued with. If you have Jay and The Rock in a handicap match against Roman, Solo, and Jimmy. Kind of similar to Evolution versus Rock and Saw connection 19 years ago at WrestleMania. So that would lead into Rock versus Roman, non-title at WrestleMania. The Rock defeats Roman Reigns. No way should The Rock hold the championship. I'm sorry if I misconstrued that.
Okay, yeah.
Like, no, they can't have another part-time champ. They can't. It has to be, as much as it twists my stomach to say and makes me want to vomit through my nostrils, Cody Rhodes should be the WWE champion post WrestleMania. That's the way it should be. As much as I detest everything to do with his stupid blonde hair and his dumb outfit and his stupid weight belt and his dumb neck tattoo and everything stupid about him, he should be objectively the guy to walk out with the Undisputed Championship. The Rock should defeat Roman in a non-title match at Mania. That humbles Roman, makes Roman go away till at least SummerSlam, and when he comes back, he's humbled as a babyface.
It really could be that simple, guys. I mean, I hate to say it, and I twisted myself into a pretzel earlier in the show, but that's kind of where the fans are at right now. And it's actually an envious spot. If you're WWE, that's kind of where you want the fans. You want them just kind of going this way and that way. Well, if this, then that, then this. Well, I don't know, but this has to happen for that to happen. There's so many different scenarios. It's a great place to be if you're WWE, but also a dangerous one, because no matter what you choose, the fans are going to second guess it and say, oh, well, this would have been better. That would have been better. We only have one reality to live in. There's a whole lot of great options, honestly, and very few ones that are awful. So to me, they can't really step on a landmine here. There are a lot of great options. They're not dumb enough to choose the ones that are just horrific. What are the horrific ones? Rock winning the Rumble would be horrific, because what does that do for any of the talent? I mean, even I'd be sympathetic to Cody Rhodes on that one. You can't have the Rock win the Rumble. You can't have Rock just appear at Elimination Chamber and then disappear. That makes no sense. People have actually proposed that. You can't have, like, for example, as much as I like AJ Styles, you can't have AJ Styles win the belt before, like certain things that are just ridiculous. But I think that is, it could be that simple. It really could be that simple. I'm all for non-title. I think that WWE would recognize that if we're doing Rock Roman, fans are going to look at that and say, well, Rock typically goes back to Hollywood the night after WrestleMania, so there's not a chance in hell Rock's winning this match. WWE has to know that. So you can't have Roman as champion. You can't make one of the biggest and last fantasy matches that's possible in 2024 the most predictable outcome of all time. So they have to have Roman drop the belt. I may be, throughout this show here, I may have talked myself into believing Roman Reigns is dropping the belt at the Royal Rumble here.
Because it's low-hanging fruit that should be obvious. You know how you always say predictability isn't a bad thing if it makes sense? Well, we're right there. That's literally what this is. Everyone wants to see it. And like we've said, there is no more perfect ending to Roman Reigns. Should he be dropping one of the most historic championship runs in a fatal four-way at the Rumble? Probably not. Probably not. But at the same time, do we remember who Bruno Sammartino lost the championship to? Do we remember who Bob Backlund lost the championship to? Do we remember who Hulk Hogan lost the championship to? Even CM Punk, when we talk about his run from the summer of 2011 to Rumble 2013, it was The Rock, but not many people talk about that. And when they do, it's only sometimes to say that it should have gone on longer with Punk. Like, nobody will really give a damn in 5 years from now that he lost the title to Randy Orton in a fatal four-way match, especially if they go the route that we're talking about, because it's the right thing to do, and you would set yourself up for one of the biggest WrestleManias ever with 3 major main events. Like, each one of those main events could arguably have main evented each of the last 10 WrestleManias.
I know. I mean, that's the kind of roster and storylines they have going on right now. I mean, WWE is in one of the best positions I've seen them in a decade. They are in a position, more. Yeah, maybe more. I mean, I reckoned it back all the way to the ruthless aggression era. I mean, that's how far back I'm going here, before they had a roster this stacked with a fan base.
Could I give you one example?
Yeah.
The last time I remember them having a roster this stacked going into WrestleMania was probably going into WrestleMania 23, where you had John Cena versus Shawn Michaels, The Undertaker versus Bobby Lashley, and then Umaga versus Undertaker versus Batista, and Bobby Lashley versus Umaga, which was obviously highlighted by McMahon versus Trump. That's the last time. And you had Edge and Randy Orton and Jeff Hardy in a Money in the Bank ladder match. That's probably the last time that they had so many star level players at their disposal.
I don't know. I mean, I'm thinking, well, what about WrestleMania 25? I remember WrestleMania 25 with, honestly, that may have been the best WrestleMania match of all time I've seen, with Undertaker and Shawn Michaels in Houston. But that was really the only thing you remember. Tell me another match from WrestleMania 25 that you remember.
Triple threat, John. Wait, didn't they have? Wasn't it Triple H versus Randy Orton in a no holds barred match, and then the triple threat match for the world heavyweight title of Edge, John Cena, and Big Show? But who the hell remembers those 2 matches?
Well, I mean, you're the exception here, but
exactly.
But most people can't. I mean, so I'm looking back, this roster right now is in a position that they are. I don't know. Part of this has to be attributed to Vince a little bit, because he'll still here when some of this talent came up. But obviously, Triple H has been driving the machine since that time. I think this is a transition time for WWE. It's one that they are in a very good position to negotiate contracts with networks and everything else, and they are about making money. Whether they're a feel good company, put your smile on your face and all that gushy crap, but at the end of the day, they're there for money, just like all the talent are. And that means they're going to put the biggest match or matches forward at WrestleMania possible, which tells me, guys, you cannot have Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes one-on-one anyway at WrestleMania. You can't do it unless you're going to have Rock somehow involved in that. It just doesn't make sense that if nobody could tell me that Rock Roman is a lesser of a match than Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns. It doesn't make any logical sense. The biggest star in the world, he gained 250,000 viewers, The Rock did, just by showing up. Cody Rhodes doesn't pull those numbers on Raw. It doesn't happen. I mean, just looking at one metric tells you all you need to know about the star power comparison of Rock and Cody. So, I think the solution we played out here makes total sense to me with those 3 massive matches and main events that should play out at WrestleMania 40. And I guess I'll end it there if you have any wrap-up thoughts.
I guess just my wrap-up thoughts would be that WWE has has a chance rather to do something very special, and it's right at their fingertips. It's a low-hanging fruit at this point. It's just up to whether or not they have the balls to do it. And by the balls, I mean just finally rip the Band-Aid off, because at this point, since SummerSlam, it's felt like a Band-Aid with Roman Reigns. Everyone's just kind of waiting for it to end. And it sucks that it's gotten to this point. It really, really sucks that it's gotten to this point. But you did the 1,000 days. You stretched it as long as you could. But now you literally have maybe not the perfect match for it to end, but the perfect story and the perfect setup company-wise on a macro scale for it to end. It doesn't just have to be the exact ending with Roman Reigns in the match. You have to look at where the company is. I would admit that up until this past summer, there was a legitimate reason for WWE to hang on to Roman Reigns as the champion, especially without a world championship on Monday Night Raw and without a legit main event guy to replace him. But now Seth Rollins has really legitimized that world title on Monday Night Raw. You have a returning CM Punk. You have a Randy Orton who feels completely reborn. You have Cody Rhodes, who the fans are still inexplicably behind, but I have to acknowledge that they are still behind him. You have a returning Rock. You still have LA Knight, who's getting good reactions. You have Drew McIntyre, who in my opinion is the most intriguing character on both brands. You are in such a good spot that you don't need Roman Reigns anymore to be champion. Not to say you don't need him in general. You just don't need him to dominate and keep the main event scene hostage. And on major pay-per-views, yes, Seth Rollins has done an amazing job with the world title. The Undisputed Championship is still the main title. And you just don't need Roman Reigns to keep that title hostage anymore.
Yeah, well said. I mean, I don't know what more to add to that other than to say Drew does intrigue the hell out of me right now because, and I'll end it with this. With Drew McIntyre losing last week to Seth, I think that his character is going to go into a very dark place. As he continues to lose title match after title match, eventually he's going to snap. I know he was kind of a quasi heel. He was kind of like the guy that was, he would bring up family. You felt like you should still cheer for him, but then he would do something kind of sly in the match. I think this could really send his character into the depths of darkness and just completely change him into a different human being. And I think that's what this was for Drew last week. I was disappointed he lost, but I think it's going to now where he was kind of teetering on the edge. It's going to push him full off. I mean, he's going right off the cliff, I think, and I hope so.
Well, and that's one of the reasons why I keep beating the drum to get the title off of Seth, because in a way, Seth versus Punk doesn't need the world title either. It's to a much lesser extent than Roman, but Seth versus Punk could be a very legitimate grudge match as well. Mm-hmm. And then you could create another main event style match of Drew versus LA Knight. And obviously that would kind of be the redheaded stepchild of the 4 main events, but that could have the potential to really blow the doors off the place. If you open let's say night 2 or something, or night 1 with the World Heavyweight Championship match and set the tone for WrestleMania with LA Knight versus Drew McIntyre going half an hour, I think that would have the potential to really set the stage for Punk versus Rollins and Rock versus Roman. You know what I mean? I really think that would have a ton of potential to really kick things off.
And we haven't even talked about Gunther and Lesnar.
Exactly.
This is insane. I mean, so this.
Or what would Kevin Owens be doing, or Logan Paul be doing?
Right.
There's just, the Judgment Day. What would Judgment Day be doing? They've been arguably the most intriguing thing on either show for the last 6 months. They are in such a good spot that you don't have to sacrifice everything at the altar of Roman Reigns.
Right, and that's what they've done for a long time. And it again, I understand it. They've sucked all the value out of it. They did what they should have done, although I think too long. And it's been great. You can create a documentary that they've already been filming for it. You can create T-shirts. You can create video DVDs if they still make them. You can do a lot with this, and I understand that, and they've done it. But it's just time for it to end. And my optimism is a little higher as I talk myself into it that he'll lose it at the Rumble. So, all right, well, I guess we'll end it there. As we always do, this has come to an end, and we will chat in a week. But do you have anything else that you want to share? I know that you have your latest show that you just did that wrapped up the New Year's Revolution review on the After Dark show, guys. That's exclusive to patrons and Apple Podcast subscribers, so check that out. But I'll just hand the mic to you, and if you have anything else before we close out.
Well, just go and listen to it. Obviously, it came out a day late than usual because of New Year's Revolution. I thought it was really important to take in the results of that into consideration. But obviously, depending on what happens on Monday Night Raw tonight, I saw that there was a confrontation between Drew and Punk, although I don't know the context or what was said. But yeah, be sure to check that out this coming Friday.
Awesome. Well, very good. This has been a lot of fun, and guys, it's just going to get better as we get into WrestleMania season, where things are just getting going. So, all right. Well, thanks so much, buddy. We will be chatting in a week.
Looking forward to it, man.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.